Prepare yourself, for what you are about to hear is not just a list of advice, but an urgent call for the survival of your own soul. A journey that requires the courage to confront the shadows you have allowed to settle within your mind. There is a silent poison that we accumulate every day, an invisible dust that settles over our mental clarity, and over time becomes an insurmountable barrier between who you are and who you should be, a crust of others' expectations and ancestral fears that suffocate your true essence. Have you ever felt that sensation that, even without making a physical effort, your mind seems to carry tons, as if every step taken were a Herculean effort against an invisible tide of mental fatigue? As if every thought were an anchor pulling you to the bottom of an ocean of useless worries, of dialogues that will never happen, and of problems that only exist in your imagination? This fatigue is not a lack of sleep. It is an excess of baggage, the weight of a life lived outward, while your inner self begs for order and silence. Today we are going to perform a deep cleaning, a purification that accepts no excuses and admits no procrastination, for your time is your most precious asset, and it is slipping through your fingers while you occupy yourself with the insignificant. I will show you the 7 things you need to abandon in the past before the sun sets today, at the risk of waking up tomorrow even heavier, more fragmented, and further from the peace you so desperately seek. But before we reveal these weights, I want you to dive into a story that will change your perception of what it means to be strong and what it means to be truly free from the shackles of the ego. In an ancient monastery at the top of a misty mountain, where the wind blew ancient secrets and silence was the only respected language, lived a young monk who took pride in his impeccable memory, a mind he considered a vault but was actually a prison. He kept every offense he received in childhood, every look of disdain, every mistake he made in his youth with surgical precision, reliving the pains as if they were open wounds. He believed that remembering everything made him wise, cautious, and ready not to be deceived again. But he did not realize that his wisdom was just bitterness in disguise. One day his master, a man whose eyes reflected the calm of an unperturbed lake, asked him to carry a sack of potatoes during a 10-kilometer hike through steep and rocky trails. Every kilometer covered, the master asked the young man to stop and write the name of a grudge, a regret, or a deep sorrow on a potato, and put it in the sack. In the beginning, the weight was bearable, almost a fun challenge for his youthful strength. But as they progressed under the strong sun, and the trails became more difficult, the sack became immense, the straps cut into his shoulders, and the smell of the potatoes that began to rot under the heat was unbearable, invading his senses and blurring his vision. When they finally stopped before an abyss, the master looked at the exhausted, trembling young man covered in sweat and said that his mind was exactly like that sack of rotting potatoes. Keeping what has passed does not make you wise. It only makes you slow, sick, and unable to appreciate the beauty of the journey that still remains. If you do not let go of the sack now, the smell of the rot of the past will prevent you from smelling the scent of the flowers of the present and the fresh breeze of the future. If you feel that your mind is saturated, that the weight of what has already been is preventing you from taking the next step, and that this video arrived at the exact moment your soul cried out for a cleansing, I ask you to subscribe to the channel now and turn on the notification bell. For we are building a fortress of resilient minds that have decided not to carry what rots, but what flourishes. Let us begin to empty this sack of potatoes right now, without looking back and without hesitation. The first thing you must abandon in the past before the end of the day is the sickly need to be understood by those who have no interest in understanding you. We spend endless hours in imaginary mental dialogues, rehearsing arguments, refining explanations, and seeking perfect words to convince people who have already judged and condemned us in their own internal courts based on their own frustrations. This is a fatal error of energy, a waste of intellect that could be used to create your own reality. The Stoics taught with solar clarity that the opinion of others is something completely beyond our control, and therefore should be treated like the noise of the wind. You hear it, but you do not let yourself be guided by it. When you desperately try to have someone validate your truth or apologize for an injustice, you hand the key to your peace into the hands of a jailer who feeds on your anguish. Let go of the explanation. Give up the, "but I just wanted them to know." Accept that some people will always have a distorted, malicious, or limited version of who you are, and understand that this says much more about their darkness than about your light. Your truth does not need an audience to be real, and your integrity does not depend on the applause of others. By abandoning the desire to be understood, you reclaim precious time that was being thrown into the trash of accumulated frustration. The second load to be left behind today is the corrosive guilt over moments of rest and creative idleness. We live in a sick society that sanctifies exhaustion, that displays dark circles as medals of honor, and treats constant productivity as the only measure of human value, transforming us into gears of a machine that knows no mercy. Do you feel bad if you stop for 15 minutes to look at the horizon without a productive purpose? Do you feel like you are failing the world if you're not producing, buying, or planning something great? This is a self-destructive habit that consumes your creativity and dries up the source of your intuition. Rest is not the opposite of work. It is the sacred foundation upon which every work of value is built. Before the day ends, forgive yourself for not being a machine. Accept your biological limits and celebrate your capacity to simply be. Understand that the mind needs absolute silence and empty spaces, like the vacuum between the stars, to process life and generate new ideas. When you let go of the guilt of stopping, you allow your soul to breathe and your sanity to be restored. The third weight you must let go of immediately, with the strength of one breaking a chain, is the bitter resentment for opportunities you believe you have lost. That door that slammed shut, that investment that evaporated, that relationship you believed was your destiny, but did not flourish and left only thorns. We stand still before locked doors for years, lamenting, "If I had done it differently," while dozens of windows open around us, and we don't notice because our eyes are fixed on what has already died. What did not happen simply was not meant to happen, for the universe, in its mysterious wisdom, has a strange way of protecting us from paths that would destroy us in the long run. Look at the sun that sets today and decide that the ghost of the what-if has no more home in your head. The past is a graveyard of possibilities that have already fulfilled their role of teaching us something, and you, by divine right, belong to the realm of the living and of new creations. The fourth thing to be eliminated today is the cruel comparison with the idealized and impossible version of yourself. We all have that perfect me that lives in our imagination, an avatar that never makes mistakes, who wakes up every day with an unshakable readiness, who never feels fear, and who has a perfectly organized life in flawless spreadsheets. When we compare ourselves with this ghost we created, we always lose, for we are comparing our naked and raw reality with a sanitized fiction. This generates constant anxiety, a sense of insufficiency that makes us feel like imposters in our own lives. Abandon this illusory perfection, embrace your scars, and accept the flawed, tired, and real human being you are today. It is in the acceptance of your humanity, with all its shadows and lights, that true Stoic strength resides, the strength of one who needs no masks to face the world. The fifth load is the paralyzing wait for a perfect moment to start truly living. I'll be happy when the promotion comes. I'll have peace when the debts are gone. I'll change my attitude when circumstances are favorable. Life does not happen in the future. It is not a destination to be reached. It is what is escaping between your fingers right now while you watch this video. The perfect moment is a mirage in the desert of emotional procrastination, a trap to keep you small and dependent on external factors. Before the day ends, decide that happiness is a non-negotiable commitment to the now, with the imperfect tools you have today and with the courage to start where you are. The sixth weight is the exhausting habit of carrying others' pains and problems as if they were your responsibilities. There is a crucial difference between empathy and absorption, between helping someone carry a burden and becoming the burden itself. Being a good friend, a good child, or a loyal partner does not mean you should drown along with whoever is going through a storm just out of solidarity. When you take on another's suffering obsessively, you lose the mental clarity and strength needed to be the lighthouse that person really needs. Help with your hands, but keep your heart protected by reason. Let go of the responsibility for others' fates and understand that every soul has its own learning to fulfill. Finally, the seventh and perhaps heaviest item to be left in the past today is the neurotic need for absolute control over tomorrow. Anxiety is nothing more than the mind's desire to predict the unpredictable and tame the chaos of the universe. We want signed guarantees in a universe that only offers us flow and constant change. This is like trying to hold the ocean with your hands. The more force you apply, the more water escapes through the gaps in your fingers, leaving only the sand of frustration. The Stoics practiced amor fati, the love of fate, accepting what comes with the same serenity with which one accepts the changing of the seasons. Before closing your eyes today, surrender control. Open your hands and trust in your innate ability to handle whatever comes, for you have survived everything that has happened until now. If you have reached this point in this journey, you are no longer the same person who pressed play. You now possess the map and the lantern for your own purification. Imagine now the young monk from our story. He didn't just let go of the sack. He watched it plummet into the abyss and felt that his own gravity had changed. He didn't just feel the weight disappear, but he felt that his eyes could see colors that were previously blurred by the dust of bitterness. This is the invitation I make to you today. Do not take these rotten potatoes to your pillow. Clean your mental house with the same dedication with which you protect your life. Let the fire of the present consume the shadows of the past. If this content awakened something in you and gave you the courage needed to let go of just one of these weights, leave your like so that this chain of lightness reaches more people who are trapped in darkness. Comment below with all the strength of your will. Today I let go of the weight, to seal this pact with your own consciousness. Your mind is your most sacred territory. Do not allow invaders from the past to continue dictating the rules. Subscribe so that we can continue walking together on this trail of ancient wisdom applied to modern chaos. The sun will set in moments, and with it, you have the divine opportunity to bury what holds you back. Sleep with the lightness of the righteous, for tomorrow a new story, written by lighter hands, begins. We will see you in the next video, where we will continue to forge your inner fortress.